Hi, guys. I am reading The Princess of East Oakland, okay? And this is starting on the top of page 69, okay? The top of page 69. Caprice Wilson came of age in East Oakland in the 1980s when crack cocaine was just hitting the streets. Okay, so that means Caprice Wilson, okay, the person we just learned about in the other chapter. She grew up in East Oakland in the 1980s, okay? For users, crack meant poverty, whole lives stripped down like a stolen car, the parts sold off to pay for their next hit. But for dope dealers, crack meant power and respect. Fat wads of paper money, gold chains, and gaudy jewelry, fancy cars. Everything was in the moment, Caprice said. No one thought about how it would affect our children. When she was 14, she saw a boy on a bike playing chicken with a car at the corner of 82nd Avenue and MacArthur Boulevard. The boy rode up close to the car, trying to freak out the driver. The driver swerved and tried to hit him. The boy on the bike dodged away and crashed into the curb, jumping over the bike and landing on his feet, grinning. Turn the page. Damn, did y'all see that? He asked. He almost hit me. His name was Little Jerry, and he was 13. Caprice fell for him on the spot. The regard was mutual. Soon they were talking on the phone every night. When Caprice went to his house for the first time, his sisters told her Little Jerry wouldn't stop talking about her. That's how she knew she was his girlfriend. Little Jerry had been claiming East Oakland's 69ville gang since he was 5 or 6 years old. He started off earning petty cash by ironing and rubber banding wrinkled money from dice games, and then moved up in the organization. But even after he grew up to be 6'2", he was still known as Little Jerry. By age 15, he was carrying around backpacks full of money. Too young to have a driver's license, he was already wealthy enough to own 4 or 5 cars. He'd like to go to Las Vegas to watch fights wearing fur boxers and a long mink coat. 69ville was led by Felix Mitchell, who controlled most of the West Coast heroin market. He was arrested on felony charges in 1983 and sentenced to life in prison 2 years later. 14 months after that, he was stabbed to death by a fellow inmate at Leavenworth Penitentiary. That's a jail. His funeral made the national news, the casket conducted through the streets of Oakland on a horse-drawn carriage, followed by a procession of 4 Rolls-Royces, 10 white limousines, and an assortment of Cadillacs and Lincolns. Thousands of Oaklanders lined the streets to watch the 8-mile parade. Caprice's mother wouldn't let her go. She didn't know that it was too late to worry about Mitchell's bad example. Violence skyrocketed after Mitchell's death as other gangsters battled for a piece of his turf, as well as increasing lucrative crack trade. Year by year, I'm at the top of page 71. Year by year, the number of murders climbed steadily, from 114 in 1987 to 165 in 1992. The corpses weren't evenly distributed throughout the city, though. They were clustered on the east and west sides of town. East Oakland, in particular, was awash in crack, blood, and bullets. Caprice was living too fast a life to stay at home, so she moved in with her stepsister's family. One of the girls' chores was to clean the guns. When the boys came over, Caprice and her stepsister would be sitting at a table with a brush, rod, and cloth, expertly taking the guns apart, spinning the barrels, polishing the grips. A visitor would have to be pretty slow not to get the message. These girls were not to be played with. Little Jerry called Caprice Classic after the car. He owned one of those too. She got a bit part in a Jim Belushi movie called The Principal, and Little Jerry called her a movie star. She knew everybody and everyone knew her. Little Jerry's copper, beautiful, smart aleck girlfriend. By the time I got to be 18 or 19, I thought I was like the princess of East Oakland, she said, because 69ville was the gang that had all the hype. It was the most feared. Caprice's brother went off to college in Atlanta, but Caprice had no interest. She tried junior college, but couldn't be bothered to do more than cash the financial aid check. When her brother handed her an application for the packet for Clark Atlanta University, she threw it away. No way was she giving up her East Oakland status just to go to school. Then an acceptance letter arrived in the mail. Her brother had filled out the application for her and mailed it in. "You're going," little Jerry said when she told him. "I'm at the top of page 72. But Caprice had another plan. She wanted to get pregnant. She knew she and Jerry would have beautiful children together. "How are you going to support a baby?" little Jerry asked. Caprice shrugged. "I'll go on welfare. That's what all the girls she knew did." "You sound so stupid right now," little Jerry said. "You know what's going to happen? They're going to kill me, and I do not want to have a baby out here without a dad. I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for my child. There will be enough of those kids out there. You can take those ones in, and just know that those ones will be your and my children together, and when they get crazy and out of control, help them, because they're going to need help." Little Jerry refused to sleep with her after that. "He froze me," Caprice said. "He was like, 'You're not messing with nobody else either. Try somebody else. I'll kill him, and I'll kill you first.'" So she went to college. She majored in education, ran track, and got an athletic scholarship. Won an award for Student Teacher of the Year from the Dean of the School of Education. Once, when she came home during break, she learned that little Jerry had been shot 3 times. She heard it from a friend. He hadn't told her. Didn't want her to know. But when she held his hands, she could feel a bullet lodged beneath the skin. It was clear the thug life was wearing him down. The violence, the danger, the vigilance. "We just need to stop the madness," he would say. "Just stop the madness." He drank too much, smoked too much weed. He began dressing like he was a blue-collar worker, jackets from the UPS and Home Depot, a back brace like he had a job in a warehouse. He was 24 years old. In their world, that made him practically an old man. One day, he got into a conversation with an elderly woman who lived on 89th Avenue, a couple blocks from his house. She wouldn't go outside because of all the drug dealing in the neighborhood, but she told him she wished she could have flowers in her front yard. He bought her some and planted them himself, put a little gate around them so they wouldn't get trampled by the customers going to the house next door to buy drugs. Paid attention every time he passed the house on her way to store. Paid attention every time he passed her house on the way to the store. Which is why he had to say something when he saw one of those drug customers take a shortcut across the garden. "Man, did you see the fence was there?" he asked. "Why would you walk across the flowers? Just walk around. She's growing some flowers." "I don't give a fuck about them flowers," the guy said. He didn't know who little Jerry was. Just some guy in a puffy jacket. "Why you gotta be like that? Just respect the flowers." Now it was a challenge. "Fuck them flowers," the guy said. "I'ma come back and shoot this shit up." And he did. Or someone did. Within hours, little Jerry was gunned down on the sidewalk. Caprice had left just minutes before. She had been talking with little Jerry about what she was going to make for dinner. He said it sounded good. She promised to save him some. Afterwards, 2 things stuck in her mind. One was how neat the shooting had been. It wasn't one of those where blood went everywhere. There wasn't even a stain on the sidewalk. Turn the page. The other was how nobody on the block saw who did it. It wasn't like they were pretending they hadn't seen, the way people did when they didn't want to get involved. It was more like that bit from the Men in Black movies where bystanders have their memories erased. It seemed to Caprice like little Jerry must have wanted it that way. "I don't want anybody to retaliate," she imagined him saying. "I just want to leave. I'm ready." The killing, like so many in East Oakland, was never solved. "That experience, it really grew me up and taught me a lot about life," she said. 20 years after little Jerry's murder, just appreciating the moment and doing the most you can do, to help someone else. Within a year, she had had her first job as an elementary school teacher in East Oakland. The troublesome kids kept getting sent her way, the ones who had been kicked out of other classrooms. She knew these kids, or she knew the kids like them, and she knew how to work with them. They were her children, just like little Jerry had said. Okay, so in this section, we learn a lot about Miss Caprice and how she grew up, right? So she grew up in a really rough part of town, and she got really, really close with a drug dealer, okay? Little Jerry. And little Jerry ended up getting shot because he was dealing drugs, okay? And that kind of is the big thing that made Miss Caprice who she is today, okay? We'll keep reading.